I don't want to have to saw my arm off. I don't want to have a 127-hour day scenario, and I'm not prepared to do that. Good morning. For the next 4 days, I'm backpacking through the desert, but what's crazy about that is along the entire trail, there are no water sources at all. Because of that, I am carrying a ton of water in my pack. My pack is very heavy, and I'm gonna have to employ some tricks and strategies in order to make it the entire trip and not get dehydrated. I've never done anything like this before, but hopefully my planning and strategies don't let me down. This is actually the morning of day 2 of the trip. I got to the trailhead late yesterday, hiked 2 miles into the campsite that I stayed at last night, but then I had to run 2 miles back to the car and then 2 miles back to the campsite because I forgot the pad straps of my sleeping pad. So that was a bonehead move and ended up making it so I hiked six miles total yesterday, which was a good little warm up for the rest of the trip. I was able to get to camp before the sunset last night, get everything set up, eat a really delicious dinner, and then watch the sunset. This morning I got a really early start because it was very cold last night. It got down to below freezing, and I was pretty toasty for most of the night when temperatures were in that 40 to 50 degree Fahrenheit range. But when I woke up this morning when it was freezing, I was a little bit cold and I had to put my down jacket on. So I just woke up, got everything going so that I could move and start warming up. Got camp taken down, ate a really good breakfast, and watched a beautiful sunrise because I was up so early. The plan for today is to hike 20 kilometers, which is gonna be a pretty big day for how heavy my pack is with all that water. And I'm not sure whether I'm gonna be on trail the entire time. I kind of just threw this route together in an area that I don't know at all. So I think there's gonna be some off-trail navigation, some bushwhacking. Based on the map, it looked like I might have to be navigating through some really rocky kind of hilly terrain like I have behind me right there. Hopefully no rock climbing or any sort of dangerous activity. I'm really gonna try and stick out of that because I don't wanna have to saw my arm off. I don't wanna have a 127-hour day scenario, and I'm not prepared to do that. This sand is hard to walk on and my pack is heavy. I think we're getting to the part where I'm kind of going off trail a little bit and don't really have a set plan. So the trail kind of ends right where those rocks hit, and then I have to get over those rocks and then about a mile, maybe 2 miles through what looks like pretty rocky terrain until it links up with another trail. So this is gonna be interesting. That looks pretty difficult to navigate. Well, that's not ideal, but we'll see what we can do. Getting a little worried here. I think I'm gonna have to put my trekking poles away because it's gonna be pretty hands-on going down that dip there and then kind of scrambling through the rock area there. Can't go that way because there's tons of vegetation. This area definitely doesn't get a lot of use, but yeah, my track kind of leads up through here. So we're gonna try that. If I have to turn back, I have to turn back. Nope. So that's a no-go. Yeah, sketchy in here. I'm probably gonna have to go back around or backtrack the entire way and take a different route. So I found a way through there, but it's gonna be tough going. And I looked at the map and I have quite a ways to go through this kind of area. Wish me luck. So this is the kind of decision making I'm having to make. So it's I could kind of stay high, go around there, and then hope there's a path through there, or I can go low, follow the little creek there, and hope that it's an easier path. Even though there is water down there, I'm not allowed to take it. This is a wildlife wilderness protected area, and any of the water that you find in here is reserved for the wildlife. So I did bring a filter in case of emergency, so I could filter water if I really needed to, but I'm all about protecting the environment and making sure that everything stays as natural as possible. So I'm gonna be using the water that I brought with me. So I made it through what is hopefully the toughest part of the trip, even though I have some more bushwhacking and off-trail travel that I need to do on days 3 and 4. But that section's done. Now what I need to do, and I'm very hopeful on this, I'm being very optimistic, is that I need to cross a little ridge here, probably quite a bit more bouldering, and then I'm gonna hit another wash. That should be a little bit thicker, a little bit more well-traveled, and that should take me to a trail. Fingers crossed that that connects. So I've been trying to find my way down to the wash. Just came through here, not super easy. And then I hit this spot right here. I don't think I'm gonna be making it down there. So I'm gonna head more that way and see if there's a better route down. This is really challenging, especially trying to do it safely. So I think we're getting to the end of round 2 of trying to get to the actual trail. I just had to squeeze through that super narrow little gap there, and as I did so, I broke the cap off of one of my Smart Water bottles. So luckily the other one's empty, so I'm gonna move that cap over, and then I have a backup screw-on cap in my pack. So that's a hack I haven't talked about in a really long time, is keeping an extra cap for your water bottles in case you lose one or it breaks, especially when you're in the desert and water is essential. That's I would have been in big trouble if I didn't have that backup. That was probably some of the hardest backpacking that I've ever done. I had to be so careful in order to do that safely. A lot of times I almost turned back. Hopefully that's the last of the really sketchy stuff. I know I've said that before, but I really hope it is. And then I'm really hoping that days 3 and 4, the off-trail stuff that I have planned isn't like that. That is crazy. My pack's taking a beating too. Look at that. I never thought I'd be so happy to be walking on sand. Way better than scrambling down rock. So that was the kind of stuff I was coming down through. But imagine that each of those boulders that look tiny from afar are like 12 to 20 feet tall. There's a lot of having to backtrack when I hit a spot that was a no-go. A lot of risk management. I was constantly balancing whether something was high consequence but low likelihood versus low consequence versus high likelihood, and whether that would make me have to call for rescue if I got injured. A lot of risk management. I highly recommend not doing what I just did and doing desert mountain backpacking when there's no trail, unless you have a lot of experience mountain climbing, which I don't, so it was a little sketchy. And yeah, just be careful out there, because that was not safe what I just did, and definitely going to be more careful in the future. Now that I'm back in the real desert and not the mountainous death desert. It's time to refill my water bottles and get that replacement cap. Looks like I have about 3 liters of water left, which is not a lot, not as much as I would like. So hopefully we can figure something out for that. This is the replacement cap. Screw that on there. Good to go. Time for bottle number 2. Because of how precious the water is out here, I want to make sure that I'm utilizing all of it that I'm putting into my body. And because I'm using electrolyte powder, so I'm putting 1 electrolyte pack into every other liter of water that I'm drinking here. And that's helped me replenish the electrolytes that I'm losing when I'm sweating in this hot desert sun, and then allow me to retain a little bit more of that water and make it useful for when I'm hiking. As I was taking my pack off and getting the water, I noticed my pack took a lot of damage. On the Flash 55, they have a reinforced 420 denier nylon bottom to it, and that's held up pretty good, especially considering how much I slid on that. But you can see a little hole right here in the side pocket, and then in the 210 denier nylon, there's quite a few more rips in the side pocket there, and then one on the back here, which I think is ripped through my poop kit all the way to my trowel. That's too bad. I'm gonna have to get a new poop kit if that one's broken. I love that poop kit. And then on the other side, again, some more rips and tears from going through the narrow parts of the rocks up there. I've got a little bit of a road walk here, a couple kilometers until I hit another trail that's gonna take me to the area where I wanna camp tonight. And after refilling up both of my Smart Water bottles, I still have 2 liters of water in my bladder. So that gives me 4 liters of water for the rest of today. And then I still need to figure out something for days 3 and 4. I was a little bit worried as we were approaching this area here with all the rocks and everything that was gonna be a gong show like the last kind of rocky area I went into, but it's a different trail. This is actually marked on the map, and look, there's stairs, not too bad. It's been a nice trail, but we're gaining a lot of elevation. We came from down that valley there and still got a little ways to go. I think once I reach this pass or whatever it is here, it should be downhill to the campsite. I'm looking forward to it. I'm beat. This was one of the toughest days I've ever done. Whew. But almost there. Let's go. Made it to camp just as the sun is setting, got everything set up. Oh. It's days like today where having a chair is a game changer. Whew. Whew, what a day. I didn't make it to the campsite that I wanted to for today, but this one's gonna do just fine. It's not too far from the spot that I was gonna head to. The sun's just heading down behind the hills there. I'm gonna take a look at the maps for tomorrow because I don't wanna end up in the same kind of situation that I was in today with all that scrambling. I wanna kind of stick to traditional desert, nice open, good trail. It'll be big days the next couple days here, but that's okay. I'm also down to 2 liters of water, so we're gonna have to figure something out with that tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm gonna talk about the strategies and tactics that I'm using in order to conserve water and make sure that the water that I have with me is going as far as possible. One of the things that I'm doing has to do with one of my favorite topics, and that's pooping. So I'll talk about that tomorrow, as well as I'll go over some of the gear that I brought with me. This is the last time you're gonna see this tent. I'm gonna be switching out my tent tomorrow for tomorrow night, but everything else is holding up pretty good. I'm really impressed with the REI Flash 55 pack. That thing is doing a very good job, and my sleep system is keeping me moderately warm. I'll let you guys know tomorrow after sleeping tonight. I'm at a little bit higher elevation, so I think it's gonna get a bit colder. Something that I'm doing that's not really conserving water too much is I'm using these Alpen Air meals. They're delicious. I haven't had Alpen Air meals in a while, but these ones have been really good. Surprising because they're all I could pick up. But they use a lot of water. This one uses 14 ounces of water. Compare that to something like Peak Refuel or Bushka's Kitchen, which uses probably half that, and you're using a lot more water. You might think to yourself that doesn't matter, you're getting 14 ounces of water either way, but I like to control when I'm consuming my water. I don't like to have it all in one serving like with a meal. I like to sip it throughout the day, throughout the evening. That way I'm not just chugging a whole bunch of water and then peeing it out really quickly. We still have a lot of trip left here. I'm definitely challenging myself on this one, but I'm not gonna bore you guys with my ramblings anymore. I'm gonna get my dinner ready, head to bed, and we'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning. It got pretty cold last night, down below freezing, about -4 degrees Celsius, 25 degrees Fahrenheit. My sleep system kept me just warm enough. I had to put on my down hoodie to get all snuggled up in there in order to stay warm. The system that I'm using is a REI Magma quilt. So this is comfort rated to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is freezing. And I'd say that's accurate. That's about what it keeps me warm down to. And then I'm using the REI Helix sleeping pad down there. This thing has an R value of 4.9. It is toasty warm and super comfortable. It has the dimpled baffling system, which I really like. It's the most comfortable baffling system that I've ever used. And I'm using a Trekology 2.0 pillow. One of the tricks that I use in order to preserve water while I'm sleeping, because like I've been saying this entire trip, water is precious. I'm carrying all of it on my back and I don't want to get dehydrated, is I cover my mouth and nose with a buff. As you're sleeping, you exhale liters and liters of water, especially into this dry desert air. And what the buff does is as you exhale, it traps moisture inside of it. And then as you inhale, you're inhaling some of that moisture back into your body. You're still gonna lose a lot of moisture to the air as you breathe, but it's not gonna be nearly as much. After dinner last night, breakfast this morning, as well as a few sips of water around camp, I'm down to my last liter of water. But I'm not dehydrated, and I know that because I was able to go number 2 this morning, and I've been peeing off and on while at camp. If I was dehydrated, I would not be able to poop, and I would not be peeing very often. That's a telltale sign that you're dehydrated. But I mentioned last night that there's something that I'm doing while going number 2 in order to help conserve water. If you follow the channel, you know I'm a big fan of backcountry bidets, but they use anywhere from 300 to 500 plus milliliters of water every time you go, which is just not sustainable when you're carrying your own water. Over the course of 4 days, that would be up to 2 liters of water that I'm using just to go number 2. Instead, I'm back to the tried and true toilet paper. So that's what I'm using on this trip. I just have a bunch of toilet paper in this bag here. As I was putting my shoes on here, I noticed something a little funky. So these shoes have seen a lot of miles. We're probably over 400 miles on these at this point, and they're showing their wear. The sole is almost gone. I've almost worn all the tread off these. But something new that I noticed is that the upper is starting to detach from the midsole here. So there's a gap on both shoes right in the side there. Hopefully that doesn't spread too much because I still have 2 more days of hiking to do, and I don't want these to fall apart before I'm done. My shoes aren't the only thing falling apart. I think they're a metaphor for my body. I'm pretty sore after yesterday. That was 23 kilometers of brutal hiking, and I'm feeling it today. The plan today is to hike 15 kilometers to a campsite. Should mostly be on trail, but there's a couple parts of it where I'm not sure. It looks like there's a trail, but that's what I thought about yesterday. So hopefully it's not as intense as yesterday. I will be in some mountainous terrain, kind of like I am right now. But yeah, yesterday was sketchy. So fingers crossed, nothing like that. If there is, I'm just gonna turn around and head back the way I came. Even though it's less kilometers today, it's a much hotter day. It's 9 a.m. right now, and it's already hotter than at any point it got yesterday. So that's gonna be a concern when it comes to water, especially with only 1 liter left in my pack. So we'll have to figure something out for that. So I just finished the last of my water there. Luckily, you guys have been waiting for this the entire trip, figuring out what I'm gonna do for water for days 3 and 4. There's a road down there through that valley, and I cached 10 liters of water underneath a shrub near the road. So fingers crossed it's still there. It wasn't too far off trail, and I didn't hide it as well as I probably should have. So hoping the water's still there, but that 10 liters should get me through the rest of today and tomorrow. I wasn't sure how much water I needed per day. I probably should have paid more attention to how much water I was drinking on my other desert trips. When I looked online, they said a gallon or 4 liters of water is how much you need per day in the desert. That seemed very little to me, so especially if you're hiking hard. So I allocated 6 liters of water per day, and that seems to be pretty much exactly how much I needed. It hasn't been too much, hasn't been too little. It's been kind of just right. If it was hotter out, or if I was somehow hiking harder, which I don't think was possible yesterday, then I'd probably bump that up to 8 liters. There's the road. My water cache is hopefully at that shrub right there. And then after I pick up everything at the water cache, the trail kind of continues up into them hills there, hopefully on an established trail and not something like yesterday. So both my water jug and then the tent that I'm going to use tonight were both at the cache, which is awesome. Time to refill everything as well as camel up, drink a whole bunch of water while I'm here because I only have 8 liters of carrying capacity. So I have 6 liters in the Sea to Summit Water Cell ST. This thing is awesome. It fits really nicely into a pack because of the way it's shaped, and then it holds water really well. And the nozzle that it comes with is really good at the same time. It's fairly lightweight. So we're gonna fill this up. I'm gonna have to poke a hole in the top here in order for it to let air out. So see, there we go, that should do it. I've got that all sorted. Now to fill the 2 smart water bottles as well. 6 liters in, another 2 liters for 8 liters carrying capacity. I'm still using the replacement cap here. Luckily I had this. Hopefully the other cap doesn't break while I'm out here, because then I'm kind of pooched. We're getting into the hottest part of the day right now. Got some shade here, so I'm gonna kind of stay cool, drink some water, and have some snacks. I'll tell you what, I'm not looking forward to putting that pack back on with 20 pounds more water weight in it. The tent that I picked up to replace the REI Quarter Dome SL that I used the last 2 nights is lighter, quite a bit lighter, but not light enough to make up for the 20 extra pounds of water. This pack is heavy. So I think the plan, based on my poor skills of reading topo maps for this kind of area, is to head down winding through these hills to the base of this more mountainous range here, and there should be a wash there that I'll follow east for a good ways. Eventually I'll hit a spot where I'll camp for the night, and then tomorrow we'll cut back through these hills that I'm standing on right now, back towards the road and my car. This sign has me a little bit worried as I keep heading down towards that wash. Hopefully it doesn't get sketchy. I made it to the big wash that I had mentioned earlier. No sketchiness on the trail here, and from here it should be pretty smooth sailing to the spot that I've picked out to camp tonight. Yeah, smooth sailing as long as my shoes and body don't fall apart before then. So the tent I switched out for tonight is the brand new 2023 REI Flash Air 2-person tent. They had a previous version of this tent, but they made some changes, not just to the color scheme either. They addressed some of the issues that other people that I know who had this tent had, particularly with condensation building up inside of the tent and then running down to the corners and then pooling inside the tent. But it looks like with this 2023 version, REI added some mesh along the ends of the tent at both ends here in order to make sure that the water gets caught by the mesh and goes outside the tent. They add this little flap here, but the corner right here doesn't seem to have any mesh there, so hopefully that's not an issue as water kind of drips down here, hits that corner, and then comes down. With camp all set up, I'm feeling pretty good. Definitely did not get as dehydrated today as I did yesterday. I was able to fill up on a lot of water at that water cache, really camel up, and then I've had a lot of water to get me through today, and then I'll have a bunch for tomorrow as well. The sun is starting to set behind the mountains there. You can see the shadows creeping across the valley. I'm gonna get dinner going. I'll share with you guys what I brought for my cook system, as well as my favorite backpacking meal that I like to bring on trips. For my cook system, I'm using a pretty tried and true system. I'm definitely bringing and using the pink titanium spoon. I'm pretty sure this is what got me through that really tough section on day 2. I was able to rappel down off of cliffs with this, pry boulders out of the way, super useful item. And then for my pot, I'm using a Toaks 550 milliliter light pot. I don't need anything more. I'm not drinking coffee on this trip or having any caffeine at all. That's actually one of the tips I meant to mention this morning, but I forgot, and partly due to the dehydration most likely. But caffeine is a diuretic. It's gonna dehydrate you even more. And with me wanting my water to go as far as possible, caffeine and coffee were just not in the cards for that. Inside of here, I have all of the rest of my cook system nested in here. I have a little mini Bic lighter, a blue one. Blue is the most powerful mini Bic lighter color. And then I have a BRS 3000 stove, just super tiny little titanium stove, which I screw onto a fuel canister. Any fuel canister really works. I find that the jet boils, I think they sit a little bit shallower, so they fit into the 500 milliliter pot really easy relative to some of the other ones out there. So before I get my meal out, I need to see how much water I need. So this is actually quite a bit of water, 16 ounces. That's gonna fill up my entire cup, I think. This thing's only 16 ounces right to the brim. So that's too bad. I actually brought this last meal thinking it was gonna be one that did not require a lot of water, but I was mistaken. So there we go. Got that all sorted. Almost, that's like 2/3 of a liter of water right there. So let's get the stove going. I'm not gonna run it full blast right now so you guys can hear me. The little BRS, it goes strong. But the meal, my favorite meal, it's made by Bushka's Kitchen. It's the Hunter's Pie. I also really like their Hearty Harvest. That actually might be my favorite. It's hard to say. They're both really good, but these only take 3 minutes to rehydrate. So that makes it really quick. I'm really hungry right now, and I'm not gonna have to wait 10, 15, 20 minutes like I would with other meals. Good morning. Last day of the trip, and what a trip that was. I thought water was going to be the biggest obstacle for me, but it really wasn't. I had enough water the entire time. I only got slightly dehydrated on day 2 because of how much harder I had to work going through that rocky kind of mountainous area, and all the water at my cache was there. Water was pretty good. I think 6 liters per day, good enough for me. I would have liked to have maybe a little bit more of a buffer in there, like an extra liter of water per day, but I'm happy I didn't because that would have been more weight on my back. The second biggest obstacle was my pack weight. Holy crap, my pack was heavy. I don't think I've carried over 40 pounds for that long of a distance in a very, very long time, maybe even ever. 25 kilometers on day 2 with a 40-pound pack through crazy terrain. That was tough, but luckily the pack I'm using, the 2023 REI Flash 55, handled that weight like a champ. I kind of thought it would because the older version carried weight the best out of almost any pack I've ever used, and it's good to see the 2023 version continue with that. My sleep system was pretty good. My quilt could have been warmer. I was testing out the REI Magma quilt, and it got a little bit cold when it got below freezing, but the sleeping pad, that REI Helix, is something else. Definitely comfortable, warm, kind of the whole package really. But the biggest obstacle of the entire trip, as you guys can probably guess, was going through that area on day 2. I did not think it was gonna be like that when I planned that route. I did plan for it to be off trail, like I knew there was no trail there, but I kind of assumed that it would be a little bit more manageable, not giant boulders and essentially rock climbing and scrambling in order to get down from different spots, and the risk involved with that was insane. That was probably one of the most dangerous things I've done in a very long time, if not ever, especially because I was alone and it was high consequence. A lot of spots that I went to, it was probably low likelihood of an incident happening, but the consequences would be essentially death, which I try to avoid as much as possible. Because of that, I was doing things that were more high likelihood but low consequence, where maybe I would twist an ankle or break a limb, which is not ideal either. So definitely not the best decision making there. I should have turned around and found a different route, but it is what it is. I learned a lot, and I definitely challenged myself with that aspect of the trip. The desert definitely continues to deliver. The more I get down into different desert areas, the more I'm just impressed with how spectacular they are. Even though they're a bit challenging in their own ways, just getting out into these open expanses and vistas and interesting environments and ecologies is really cool. I'm glad I was able to make it down here. It's a pretty easy hike out of here. I'm just gonna be hiking basically that way until I hit the road. And yeah, looking forward to it and having a nice shower. That's one thing with the desert. I get a lot stinkier because of how hot it is. If you guys like long trips and watching me suffer, go check out that video right up there. It's my Great Divide Trail through hike video. It's a 6-hour long video, so you'll probably be watching it in multiple sittings, but it goes through a lot. It goes through a lot of emotions, a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulties, but it was a heck of a trip.